Hello and welcome to the CPA Consultants Alliance video series on facing the accounting profession. Our panel in this segment will be addressing the rise of consulting services in the profession. My name is Terry Putney. I'm the CEO of Transition Advisors and a member of the CPA Consultants Alliance. I'll be the moderator for this session. Our panel members are Carrie, President of the Whetstone Group, Angie Grissom, President of Rainmaker Companies, Sandra Wiley, President of Boomer Consulting, and Jen Wilson, Partner of Convergence Coaching. The CPA Consultants Alliance members are leading national professionals that provide practice management consulting to the accounting profession. Our mission is to develop and share solutions that benefit practitioners. Our members are committed to making a difference in the communities we serve. So let's get started. Advisory services are on the rise in CPA firms. Why do you think that is?
Well, first and foremost, Terry, I think that the rise of consulting services is really a direct result of an increased demand with CPA firm clients. I think that CPA firm clients are demanding more from their advisors. Their businesses are becoming more complex, and the landscape in which they are competing is more complex. And every single element of their business is demanding more time, more energy, more knowledge, more technical ability. And so I think the combination of those factors is leading those owners of those businesses and those who are hiring CPAs to want additional help from those CPAs and be able to go deeper than just keeping them in compliance, but also being able to really analyze and help them figure out what else they can be doing in their businesses to make themselves more successful and to stay competitive in a global market and with all the other things that they're paying attention to. I also think that part of the rise of services happens to relate to the fact that CPA firms are looking for new opportunities to grow their top line, and consulting practices lend themselves very well to growing a CPA firm's top line because they're really opening up other opportunities to be able to serve their existing clients. So in addition to being able to attract new clients through those consulting services, it gives them more that they can do for their existing clients, which is a very, very profitable way to find growth opportunities for the firm itself. And the third thing that I would point to is the young professionals who are coming into the CPA profession are really looking at ways that they can be more creative, more innovative, and add more value to their clients. And they really want those opportunities to dig deeper than maybe what they have in previous years or what we've done in the past as a profession. And so I think that they're also sort of driving this tendency toward becoming more value-add partners with clients and developing more of that skill set around consulting services.
I agree with a lot of what Carrie mentioned. And, honestly, the world is getting smaller and we have more and more complex business needs. The environment for business is more competitive. And so as a result of that, we have a huge opportunity in the accounting industry to serve as a most trusted advisor, because a lot of the compliance work that CPA firms have been offering is becoming automated by technology. And so there's a huge need to be more than just a compliance provider. We have to get out there and we have to work with clients in more of an advisory role. I also agree with what Carrie said about there's an interest in the up and coming generations and wanting to roll their sleeves up and really get involved in solving business challenges for clients. And so there's a huge opportunity for the industry. Most firms are moving in that way, and those that are not really need to get on board.
Yeah.
What are some of the examples of advisory or consulting services that you've seen firms have success with? What are some of the positive impacts consulting services have on the CPA firm business model?
Well, thanks, Terry. And, while I would love to give you a ton of success stories out there, the reality today is that we're slowly getting involved with how we're engaging in client advisory services and with business consulting. But I am truly inspired by some of the progressive firms that are out there. And there are some passionate champions that are within firms today that if we would unleash them and really let them dive in and innovate within their niche or within their service line, I think we would see some amazing things coming out of firms. Today, I have specifically seen client advisory services, human resources, IT, and information technology really expanding in this business consulting world. Also, specific niches within firms, healthcare, construction, small business. But the key that I have seen in the firms that are working well are really getting that passionate champion that want to really do well here. When you talk about, so how's that impacting firms? When I look at the firms that are really being successful here, there are 3 ways they're winning. They're winning with the firm itself. There's renewed excitement about what's going to happen in their future. The culture starts to really change, and all of a sudden we see that bubble up to the top. We also are seeing personally, we have been worried for years about how do we engage people to stay in our firm long term and make this a career. This is the way you do it. You want to remain relevant? Get some of these passionate leaders, no matter what their age, no matter what their niche, no matter where they're at in the firm. When they have some passion for this, unleash them, and they become very stuck to the firm. They engage there. And then, of course, there's the clients, which we can never forget. When we talk in our profession about remaining relevant and wanting to remain relevant, our clients want the same thing. This is the way they can do it. We can change our business model so that they can look forward, not in rearview mirror. We can really change that billable hour now to being value and fixed fee pricing. And we can truly have our firm stand out as different because we have changed the business model. I hope that helps, Terry.
Thanks, Sandra. Jen, do you have anything you want to add to that?
This list of potential consulting services is right in line with what I would say. One area that I've seen really come on in the consulting arena these days is tax consulting services and the whole growth around state and local tax, international tax, R&D credits, the whole tax credits element. Boy, are really smart tax practitioners making hay with those advisory services. So those would be some that I'd add to Sandra's list. You had asked the question, Terry, how does compliance and consulting differ? And I just want to throw out a couple of ideas. One is, because a lot of firms kind of mess up and try to manage the consulting practice the same way as the compliance practice. Consulting commands a higher rate per hour, which is awesome. It also commands a higher realization rate and should expect it to be at 100% realization, really. But utilization is different in consulting. We won't see the highest utilization because we tend to resell all our jobs every year. They're project-based. We have to have a big marketing and sales push and focus. That passionate leader that Sandra talked about has to be in place driving the business growth in order for us to have consistent utilization. And so those are some business model differences that I would just point to in addition to some of the things that Sandra mentioned. Thanks, Terry.
What are some of the challenges firms experience as they develop their advisory practice?
Well, obviously, everything is changing. And anytime that you implement change within any kind of, anywhere, you have challenges. I think there are 3 areas that people need to really be focused on. And in our profession, mindset, skill set, tool set. And if you keep those 3 buckets in your head, I think that you'll find a way to make the changes that you need that are necessary. So let's start with mindset. I think at the foundation of if you're going to really take on this challenge, when you take on this challenge, because I don't think it's an if, you have to make the decision to actually change your business model. You have to make the decision to allow emerging leaders to emerge and really let them own it and take hold of it and make it happen. You have to make the decision to go deep within your service line or your niche and to know everything about that so that you can develop a roadmap for those people that you're consulting with. And you have to make the decision to slow down in order to go fast later. One of the things that's happening in that mindset area is that people within the firm are having to take a step back in order to grow the business. You have to take the time to then go into the second bucket, which is skill set. You're going to have to learn, and you're going to have new skills in order to make this happen. Consultative skills, pricing skills, how to name the product, how to ask the right questions, and how to be a really good listener, how to build new services. All of those things come with new skill set that, quite frankly, are not things that we have been teaching, nor have we learned in this profession. And the last piece, tool set. And Angie earlier made the comment about technology. Technology is going to be your accelerator here. And if you have great technology in place with great vendor partners, the amount of time that'll get you from square zero or starting point to where you're really accelerating and doing great here will be much, much faster. I would tell you this, it is a great time to be in accounting. It is a great time to be in this profession. And if you really start changing your mindset, your skill set, and your tool set, this growth in the consulting realm will be at your hands.
Carrie, anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, I think Sandra did a really nice job of summarizing the three areas that firms, where firms really need to pay attention as they are going through this transition. And I think that all of this lends itself to reminding firms that they do need to be patient with the process. I do think that, one of the areas where I've seen clients really struggle with this is even starting with sort of a common definition of what the advisory service is. What is the scope of the engagement? How are we going to get paid for it? What does the deliverable look like? And there needs to be a conversation internally and an agreement among partners in the firm as to the scope of the specific engagement. So, tax planning that Jennifer mentioned earlier, she was talking about all the different types of tax consulting work, and there is a ton of opportunity there with existing clients, but firms need to get a handle on how do we do that in conjunction with the compliance stuff? And is it a separate engagement, or do we incorporate tax planning as part of the compliance engagement and then do these other projects separately? So they need to get a handle on the definition of what that service is in terms of scope and process and delivery. And part of the reason why that's important is when they start thinking about how this affects their brand, I think that this is a really great opportunity for firms to begin to shape and elevate their brand in the marketplace. But some of that depends on the consistency of delivery. And so if we have, a few people over here sort of delivering it one way and a few people over here delivering it a different way, that's a little bit confusing for clients. It's a little bit confusing for the market. I don't really know what I'm going to get when I sign on with you. And the market won't take time to figure that out. So, marketing professionals in firms can get a lot of mileage out of messaging around the value-added services around consulting, but the firm has to be very, very clear about what that means and what it looks like. And then the other thing I think that does as well is it makes some of those individuals who already have relationships with existing clients a little bit more comfortable talking about and introducing those to their clients. Because another sort of pitfall that I see with firms sometimes is they decide on these advisory sorts of practices in these different areas, and it's the personality of the person delivering the work is maybe a little different from who I am. The model is a little different. The way we bill for it is a little bit different, and so that makes me nervous with my existing relationships. And so we do sometimes see folks that have relationships with clients hesitate a little bit to introduce those service opportunities with existing clients because they don't understand it, they don't trust it yet. And that can cause firms to have to look outside of the existing client base for opportunities for those services. And that's just a longer term proposition. And it's okay to be there, but you have to be a little bit more patient with the type of results. So you need sort of the internal education piece and the internal, discussion and communication and making sure that everyone in the firm is on the same page, and then also patience when you move outside of the existing client base, because those services may not necessarily be associated with your firm's brand yet. You want to move in that direction, but it might take the market a little time to get there. So those are just a couple of things to add on to Sandra's great points, Terry.
What else should firms look for when identifying a successful consultant?
So I think some of the most successful consultants that I have seen really do start with a very deep technical knowledge. So I don't think folks necessarily come right out of the gate and are really great at some of these advisory services, but they do need to start with deep technical knowledge, and they need to have some sort of aptitude for seeing not only the numbers, but also what's the the interpretation of that. So they need that skill set to be able to interpret what those numbers mean, and also an understanding of key performance indicators for a particular type of client. I think that advisory services really lend themselves to industry specialization. And I think it was maybe Sandra who was saying that earlier. I can't remember, but somebody was talking about, opportunities to really go deep in an industry and become seen as an expert in that area. So that means understanding the performance indicators, having that deep knowledge, being able to interpret what that information needs, and then, really having sort of a passion around learning more about that industry. I think that we can't discount the value of having someone in the firm that has a passion and a commitment to being focused on it, and that natural curiosity of, wanting to learn more, because that is what really drives, I think, an advisory sort of engine, is this curiosity and this desire to learn more and do more and take what I know and figure out creative and sort of innovative ways to apply that to a client's particular problem. And boy, when I've seen firms that get this right, that their clients love it, because their clients are having conversations that they never would have had with their CPA professional before. They are, coming to them with issues and challenges that they're struggling with that, maybe 2 or 3 years ago would not have been top of mind to call my CPA to see if they could help me figure that out. But, because of the creativity and the innovation you've applied in different areas, you're going to be my first call. And isn't that a great place to get to with your client? That they're the person you're the person that they want to talk to first when they have an issue or a challenge. And, to be able to partner with them and deliver that kind of value, I think is super exciting. So, and again, I agree with whoever said it earlier that this is a pretty exciting time, I think, to be in the accounting profession.
Sandra, anything you'd like to add to that?
I would only say I agree with Carrie completely when she talked about, knowledge here is extremely important. I would add just a few things. First of all, I think we are so comfortable. It's like wearing a really good fitting coat, right? That we know the profile of what we believe a accounting professional should be. I believe that is changing. I think that is one of the things that's going to inspire us to be a little different. That profile of what we used to be and the profile of what you have to be as a business consultant is a little different. And a couple of things that you might consider is, first of all, I think it's going to be a collaborative group. I think you're going to need exactly what Carrie was just saying. I think you're going to need that knowledge base. Is so important. But I also think you're going to need someone who really understands that niche or that business. And it's possible, in fact, probable, that we're going to be hiring people that aren't even in accounting, that they know that niche or they know that service line so well because they are in that service line. I'll give you one quick example. A client that I have that has a restaurant niche, that's where they're focusing their client advisory services. And they went out and found a great restaurateur that understands how to run restaurants. And that person is now in charge of that niche within their firm, and it's growing like crazy. But they're partnering and collaborating with the accountants and their knowledge. So I want people, when we talk about thinking outside the box, that's outside the box thinking. That's your challenge for today.
What advice would you offer to firms looking to either build a consulting practice?
Well, so, all this has been so great. And I think the first thing that I have to do is I have to say that to kind of pile on to what Carrie and Sandra were talking about, the passionate leader is critical if you're going to build a consulting practice. And a curious group of consultants is also really important. Curiosity is critical. Carrie kind of alluded to it. They have to be interested and learning always. So whoever it is that you choose for that leadership position, whether they're a traditional person inside your practice or some non-traditional person that you hire, that's critical. Sandra, if we had more time, I'd ask you, are they making that poor restaurateur enter time? And I say that because one piece of advice I have is stop thinking you're going to run your consulting practice as if it were a traditional compliance practice, and stop picturing that you're going to use the same KPIs, the same constructs, the same time entry expectations, the same hiring profiles, the same marketing and sales investments, which is minimal, for the most part, many accounting firms are minimally investing in actually marketing their traditional compliance services, and that doesn't cut it in consulting. So, just don't expect that you're going to run this thing like you've always run it. The other thing is that for those who aren't able to conceive of starting a consulting practice because your firm's too small or you're really not there yet, you can just start consulting. And that's asking more questions of your clients, being more interested in what's going on in their lives and their businesses, not just focused on the checklist and producing the traditional compliance deliverable. Think beyond that. Begin to be more consultative. I think that several people alluded to it in this conversation today. When you add more value to your clients because you're interested, because you have ideas and solutions, they are going to stay with you. And they're going to look to you, like Carrie said, and call you for things they never would have thought to call you for before. So don't think you have to have a consulting practice to be consultative.
I think it comes down to curiosity. It comes down to passion. We call it the concept of climbing the value ladder. And what I have found with consulting and accounting firms is that many times most firms are already offering consultative services. They just don't know what to call it. And that's going above and beyond just the regular everyday tax and audit work and really looking at the client's business as a whole. So the first thing I would say is you're probably already doing it, but you need to look for ways to package it. I would also agree that you need creative, out-of-the-box thinkers. You need rainmakers that can grow the practice. You need people, most of all, that are not afraid of not knowing the answers. And sometimes in the industry, we get caught in the rut of feeling like we have to know every answer before we can offer advice. And that's a mistake, because consulting is creative and it's out of the box thinking. So you've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You've got to look to build the practice. You've got to get creative. You've got to look for things that you're passionate about and ways that you've already been adding value to your clients' businesses, and then look for ways that you can continue to add value and help them grow. So you need the right people, you need different KPIs and different metrics, and you can't be afraid of it. So that's my advice.
Thank you, panelists. We encourage you to provide us feedback and submit any questions you have by visiting our website, the CPAConsultantsalliance.com. While there, you may access additional resources provided by our panelists by registering, which will also allow you to receive our quarterly newsletters and blogs and download white papers we have produced. Follow us on Twitter at the CPACA. In 2016, we published the book Bridging the Gap, Strengthening the Connection Between Current and Emerging Leaders in the CPA Profession. It can be purchased on Amazon. Thank you for attending this segment of the CPA Consultants Alliance video series.